Hey everybody, I wanted to introduce you guys to our lesson for the week, solving quadratics using factoring. Now this sounds really scary, but it's actually not that bad, especially if you watch the video that I made about factoring. This is really the same exact thing with one added step. So after you watch the last video, we learned that in order to solve problems like this, you make your parentheses. And after you make your parentheses, you put the letters. Your next step after that is you figure out the signs. We have this is a plus. This last one here is a plus, so we know that the signs are the same. They're the same as this sign right there, so we know we have minus, minus. And then we factor this 8. The factors of 8 are 1 and 8, and 2 and 4. And we have to figure out which of those factors add together to give us a 6. Well, that's the 2 and the 4. And if we were doing the same thing as we were doing last week, we'd be done with our problem. Now, here's where these problems change. The only thing that we've added is this. So when we have that equals 0 here, all you have to remember is that anything times 0 equals 0. So what that means is you take your two parentheses and you set them equal to this 0. What do I mean by that? I mean x minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. Well, now we just have two one-step equations. So we have plus 2 on both sides, and we get x equals 2. And then we have plus 4 on both sides, and we have x equals 4. That's it. That's the whole problem. Okay? Let's go into a couple of different examples that you might see, because that's as easy as it's going to get. So the first example I want to show you, the first kind of like weird one, is if we have a problem like this. There are some things going on. One, we don't have that c term, right? There's no constant after that minus 6x. So what do? If you think back a couple weeks ago, you probably learned about factoring out the greatest common factor, the GCF, right? So if we look at this 2 and the 6, I can divide both of those terms by 2, if I can get it to work. There we go. And then they also have an x in common. I can take an x away from both of these. So if I take out a 2x from this 2x squared divided by 2x leaves me with 1x. I don't have to write the 1 because we know it's just 1x. And then if we have negative 6x divided by 2x, that leaves us with a minus 3. We have our equals 0. And just like last problem, we take our terms and we set them equal to 0, because if this 2x equals 0, 0 times all this equals 0. And if this whole thing equals 0, then 0 times 2x is 0. So 2x equals 0. X minus 3 equals 0. Now we just solve for x. Divide by 2. 0 divided by 2, 0. Add the 3. X equals 3. Done. Our last type of problem that we're going to be looking at combines those two things, as well as has something on the other side. That negative 3x, what do? The other problem's already equaled 0, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to move this negative 3x to the other side. In order to move that negative 3x, we add 3x, and we combine it with this 5x because they both have just 1x there. So now we have 2x squared. That's a little sloppy. Let me fix that. 2x squared plus 8x plus 6, and then negative 3x and positive 3x equals 0. All right, well, this looks a little bit scary because there's a number in front of the x squared, but look, we can divide that by 2, we can divide that by 2, we can divide that by 2. That leaves us with the 2x squared plus 4x plus 3 equals 0. Now we take everything in this parenthesis and we factor it the same way we did that first problem, those easy type problems. So we do our two parentheses. Each parenthesis gets the x. We look at our signs. We have a plus sign here, which means that the signs are the same. And they are the same as this first sign here, so that means we have a plus and a plus. What factors of 3 add together to give us 4? Well, there's only 1 and 3. So that means we have 1 and 3, and we bring everything else down. Don't forget about your equals 0. Don't forget about your 2. Now we have 3 things that we can set equal to 0. Now, obviously, this 2, if any of these equals 0 here, that's going to make it equal 0. So we don't really have to do anything with that. So we'll just have the x plus 1 equals 0, and the x plus 3 equals 0. Subtract the 3. Subtract the 1. And that's it. So hopefully you had a good understanding of factoring when a equaled 1 from probably the last week of material that you covered, because this only adds that one extra step of solving for each one of those factors to see what the answer would be. If the whole reason you're doing this, I should have started with it. The whole reason you're doing this is it's almost like, let me change the color here. It would be like if you have a graph. Let's say this graph looks like this. Your answer, well, I guess I could just draw. This graph would look like this. Those answers that you get are where the graph is going to hit the x-axis. So that's actually what you're solving for when you're solving these quadratics. So hopefully this helps you out. This is, one of the harder things you have to learn in algebra, but if you had a good grasp on factoring, it's not too bad. Have a great day, guys.